Hello there, and welcome back to the Indie Hour. As always, I am your host, Ryan, breaking down this past week of indie and alternative music. Also, like to address some real-world problems as I see fit, which is what I will be doing before talking about the music today. Subject for today is sports coming back. Those who know me personally in my life know that just as big of a music fan as I am, I'm a big sports fan as well. So really what we've been seeing is when Corona started, when everything started, we saw things get shut down. We saw sports not being able to continue. And I guess what I want to talk about is the NBA specifically. I want to talk about the NBA and the NFL. So on the subject of sports and all that. So with the NBA, they came back and something was brought up that I didn't actually think of with everything going on with racial injustices trying to be brought to light. A player by the name of Lou Williams brought up the fact that he hoped at the time there would be this continuation of, talks about this stuff, how we can make changes. But he also worried that potentially fans and players and whatever were just going to, in his own words, we're going to sit back and crack a beer. But I do applaud the NBA for some of the stuff they've done. They have, on the court of every NBA game is Black Lives Matter, and their warm-up shirts and whatever all have messages of change and positivity. And same thing with their jerseys. On the back, it's stuff like say their names, Black Lives Matter, and other great stuff. So I thought that's really great from the NBA and something cool to see sports-wise. Then we have the almighty giant returning this week, the NFL. We saw, I think the big question was how were they going to do things? How were they going to do things related to protesting and stuff? And how they would highlight these racial injustices, especially after Colin Kaepernick famously kneeling during the national anthem. And for a lot of people, so what happened Thursday was two of the biggest names in the NFL, I would say, Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, took the field, did not do anything during the national anthem besides locking arms to potentially not offend people who had talked about, how doing something during the national anthem was disrespectful to the flag or disrespectful to soldiers. So what they went with was just they locked arms during the anthem. One player did kneel, and then afterwards, after the anthem was done, they came together, both teams came together and they locked arms and they said, we're going to have a moment of silence for all of those who have been victims of racial injustices. And what happened next really pisses me off. And that's that they received boos for this action. Fans at the stadium booed them. And that gets me angry for a lot of different reasons. I'm not obviously tackling I don't think this applies to every NFL fan, but there is a problem where players are not allowed to do anything to open up the conversation on racial injustices during games, which is so disappointing to happen because clearly change has not happened yet. So I applaud these players who want to make changes, and that's so unfortunate to have fans in attendance who are booing this action. I think as harmless as this action was, and they still got boos. That makes me think of the same people who talked about, it's disrespectful during the anthem and all this. If it's the same people booing, then, it makes me think that those people may not want these changes or are not ready for this change. And that's disappointing. I guess you do have to say everyone goes at their own pace, but still, it sucks to see. And kind of the last thing I want to say about this, the last thing I'll mention is a Malcolm X quote that I definitely feel like applies to this situation. I think it really sums up things very well. I don't think I've shared it before, but he talks about, you're not supposed to be so blind with patriotism that you can't face reality. Wrong is wrong, no matter who does it or who says it. I'll leave it at that. Getting into the music this week, it felt like one of the best weeks of new music that really I've covered since starting up this show in April. We had some big releases from big artists, good releases too, I should say. And I guess I'll start that off with first, the Gorillaz teaming up with Robert Smith of The Cure to release their song. So the single is very interesting. It's super eerie. It's, it's very off-putting. It's something with the pitch and the style. It's interesting to say the least. It's a very unique song and kind of a cool collaboration to see between them. Next up, we got James Blake. Really cool one there. It starts off with this piano. The piano comes in so hard, and what comes in harder is his vocals. He starts with this almost like shout, this heartfelt shout that I think is really well done. We also had the Wallows release new stuff. Always great to hear some new music from them. I think their single this week, Really Will Rock You. It has this really cool guitar effect and distortion on it. Super great song. Finally, we got Still Woozy releasing a super laid-back jam. It's called BS, which I still haven't figured out why it is named that, but a good song nonetheless. I say this every week, but please, for this week, do check out the rest of the playlist, because there is some great artists in there. We've got bands, we've got artists like Mac DeMarco, New Order released some stuff, and that's all included in my playlist. So please go check that out, and that is going to be the show for this week. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I haven't said it in a while, but if you do like what I'm doing, if you liked this episode, please make sure to leave a like on the video. You can also subscribe too to keep up to date with me and see everything that's going on this channel. So, like I said, that's going to do it, and I hope you have. Please stay safe out there and have a good one.